Hello everybody, I'm Mango Thunderslice, and I've decided I'm gonna buy an AR-15, right? Because if this many cucks, trannies, and communists don't want me to have it and are so convinced that I don't need it, it must be pretty great. You know, it's being a little mean, but these people are out here trying to basically eliminate one of the Bill of Rights, right, the Second Amendment, because they are uncomfortable, right? They are uncomfortable with what they're seeing on their television, right? Statistically, violent crime is down extremely from the early 90s, but we have these punctuated traumatic events in these school shootings, right? And there's people who talk about the guns as the problem. If we could just get rid of the guns, then these kids wouldn't have guns, right? And then they wouldn't shoot people, And then there's people who say, well, it's the Prozac and the pills and all this other garbage that's in their systems, these psychiatric medicine, these SSRIs that are basically, messing with their brain chemistry and making them have suicidal and homicidal thoughts, right? Not processing emotion normally. And then there's, the conspiracy world people who basically, are of the opinion that there's a massive mind control program that's been run by the CIA since the 40s, 50s, and 60s, really. And, it was brought to light in the 70s, and it was nominally shut down by the CIA, right? It did exist. MKUltra was admitted. But then they said they got rid of it, but really it just went deep, black budget, under the radar type stuff. And basically, this is why, you see in the news all these totally messed up people psychologically, right? They got people chained up in their basements and they're extreme violent perverts and all this stuff. Like, this is not normal. This is not a normal pathology. This is something very, very different. This is it's not a matter of lifestyle choices, I'm afraid. There's a difference between, people doing bad things and coming to terms with it, and then there's a difference between evil, which is when people actually commit to it. They actually get into it, and they derive power from that sense of domination over others. And, it's bad stuff. And, ultimately, I think that the preponderance of first-hand testimony of whistleblowers and people who have been mind-controlled, people who had been sold into human trafficking, they come out and they document and they detail their experience. And, we see this throughout Hollywood, and now it's been coming out, basically this rampant pedophilia and this all kinds of crazy satanic shit going on. Like, this is not like a conspiracy theory anymore. We've had like so many revelations of this over the last how many decades, but now with the internet, it's just accelerating into a hyperbole, right? And it's ultimately, I don't necessarily need an AR-15, but I will say that I sleep with a firearm and with a loaded magazine next to me every night, not because I'm afraid of something happening, not because I'm expecting someone to come in and try and, kill me, a Space Panther, but the point is, if that happens, one cannot necessarily rule out the possibility. The only time, you can ever really be secure in yourself is if you've prepared for the worst case scenario, not because you think it's going to happen, but because you know that it could, right? And you prepare for the worst, and that's when you can actually start to, choose the best of our worlds, when you've actually eliminated all of the terrible options, right? I will not be made a victim. I'm not, I'm very fortunate. I've been robbed a few times by various individuals, right? But, I've never been in a necessarily violent situation. I'm grateful for that, violent in the terms of firearms. But I've been in some sketchy situations. Reno's a sketchy place sometimes, and as there are a lot of sketchy places. And the point is just to be prepared. I mean, the fact that there's not more feminists advocating for firearm training for women is so appalling and astounding to me, that they're so committed to their communist ideology that they're actually willing and able to be made victims of themselves, because they prefer that they want to rewrite the male psychology somehow, and it's not like, they say rape culture, right? I mean, you know what rape culture is? They dropped the E. It's called rap culture, okay? And you guys celebrate it. All you Hollywood fags and all you people like on the left, dropping your hip hop, right? That is rape culture. Music is disgusting. It's satanic. And it's like, choose your soundscapes, choose your vibrations, because, it's all a snowball rolling, and thoughts becomes actions, actions habits, and habits, your destiny, right? So, and I'm not a gun nut. I do enjoy firearms. What's funny is I remember I was so liberal in high school, right? Because that was so easy. It was against the war. Bush was a total twat and a dumbass, and it felt so righteous to be on the left. But then it's like Obama came in and everybody the wind went out of their sails as far as rebellion was concerned, and they flipped back over to their statist communist, traditional blue team, right? Where their whole prime directive is just to expand the state and increase taxes in any way conceivable, right? Using any excuse. And it's like, we were just out in the Bay Area this weekend, and, it's such a beautiful place. We were both born out in the Bay. It was nice to get out there, but it's so saturated with I like Sacramento more than the Bay Area now, because there's still a balance here. There's lefties here, but it's okay. There's lefties everywhere. The point is, if there's still a balance, so that they can still have conversations with people who may not think in a communist delusion. They might have other opinions to share, and so they kind of check each other, and so it doesn't turn into this cultural hysteria like it has in San Francisco, right? And now with the Silicon Valley, just like Peter Thiel coming out, right? Even he's gay, and he's like, dude, you guys are some commie fags, like. I'm not totally in sync with everything Peter Thiel's about, but I do appreciate that he's the one kind of rich libertarian on the scene, and so you got to give a guy credit. I guess there's John McAfee, but anyway, the point is that basically everything's a tool. When, going back to technology, we can now 3D print weapons. So the more you want to shove things into the underworld, whether it's drugs or guns or, anything basically that isn't direct harm against another person, like, a gun is not directly harming anyone by its mere existence. There are an estimated 100,000 or so people who are defending themselves every year using firearms in their home in the United States. So, are the deaths tragic? Absolutely. But you got to consider how many lives are protected in defense by these weapons, including the AR-15. And balance that against what you perceive to be this universal evil, when you see these traumatic events on the TV, right? And this is the thing. People, even the conspiracy people, they talk about the MK Ultra on the shooter, right? It's always these weird circumstances, it's like we just find out that the FBI or, what was it? Omar Mateen, the shooter at Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida in 2016, right? His father, who I made a video about back then, his father's a nut, right? And he's straight up a terrorist, and he was connected to the FBI, right? It's just now coming out that he was an FBI informant for years, and it's suspected that he was also CIA, asset of some kind. He's always search his name, Sadiq Mateen, and he's this weird ass dude, holding up these yellow signs like Hillary Clinton, good for America. Like, what the fuck is going on here? And it's like the more you actually dig into these little rabbit holes, you realize that there's almost always this ubiquitous FBI or deep state connection to the shooter, right? People don't remember, but there was other shooters basically, even on the West Coast in Venice Beach, they were arrested about the same time, and they were mentioning being patsies, being mind controlled, and that the guy in Venice basically broke free, but Omar Mateen probably just submitted to his commands. Again, it's Zoolander style. They can train the brain, even in the movie, it's like electroshock therapy combined with hypnosis, and deep set subconscious commands. Like, they throw it all in your face, this Jewish communist mysticism. And it's like, people want to throw, anti-Semitism. I got no problem with Jewish people. I love almost all the Jewish people I've met. There's people like Debbie Wasserman Schultz that make you reconsider whether Hitler was actually insane or not. I said, just joking. Jesus Christ, calm yourselves. But seriously, that woman is like a cantankerous hag who took it to a whole new career level, right? She really made it into her whole profession. And anyway, it's just this rampant corruption, rampant disgustingness, and it's all perpetuated by this media satanic program of making people so afraid and making people so twisted in their own mind. They don't have a secure set personality that they can rely on. The fantasy takes the place of actual meaning in their lives, and it's messed up. It's messed up, and what it results in is all these people who are totally unhinged, people who have kids out of wedlock and they're terrible parents, and they just put their kid in front of the boob tube all day. They program them to the end of time. They give them these poisons, all these colored foods and chemicals and dyes and pesticides, and it's all garbage. And nobody, and yet it's marketed to everyone like la 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 Disneyland, it's a small world after all, right? So this whole time that they're basically poisoning you, they're feeding you this basically la 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 Disneyland bullshit, right, to make you feel so good about these evil acts that you're complicit in. And it's all this ancient form of magic. It's mass magic. It's how to control the human psyche using subtle psychological cues, and that's what these people are about. They're not Jews, they're not Catholics, they're not evangelical Christians, right? They're not Muslims even. They are basically Satanists, and they have been playing this shit for thousands of years. My homeland, Ireland, was utterly destroyed because of these fools, and I have the alacrity to remember such things, because I use the internet for what it was designed for, in my opinion, right? Which is to elucidate the self and enlighten the mind and be able to steer your course more intelligently, my brothers, right? So, and in steering my course more intelligently, obviously, something, if they don't want me to have an AR-15, that's like, it's like it's like burning a book, right? It's like, well, okay, what's in this book now that is so important? Like, I feel like I should really read this book, and that's the human nature, right? It's almost like the best thing that these people can do to keep the sales of AR-15s high and to keep the NRA happy hogs is just to keep wailing and whining about gun control, because it just makes people want to buy it even more. And, all the better, because now there will be more people out there defending themselves and their loved ones, and, more able to respond to threats of all kinds. Some that we can predict, others we can't. We don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. Stop pretending like you do. The best thing we can all do in every fashion is just to be prepared, right? I am very much in favor of Space Panther taking firearms training. It's not been an immediate priority, and it's, again, I didn't finish that point. I was super liberal in high school, right? And it was really actually gun control and the idea of gun control that really threw me, like woke me up. And I was like, wait, hold on. You want only the cops to have guns? What the Are you fucking serious? You want only the cops to have guns? Like, that is literally the stupidest idea I've ever heard in my entire life. Who am I hanging out with? Maybe I should re-examine a lot of this stuff you guys have been saying. And that was really my transition to an anarchist, was realizing how dumb gun control was. That it's not just about getting rid of guns, it's you want only the state to have guns. And that is an implicit communist mentality that I will never be down with. Holy shit. No way, brother. I may not be a red-blooded American and go hunting, throw a buck on the back of my truck and go grill it on the fire and I'm like, this is how I can get by in California. In social graces, people just automatically assume that I'm a liberal, or at least a libertarian, or something non-threatening. And then it's like, I just grin and smile when they repeat all this claptrap from Rachel Maddow and other bullshit. It's like, whatever, man. I'm not gonna start fires, just for fun. I'll choose my battles. I've learned that much. But it's like, be prepared, man. Stop listening to the media. Stop listening to the tribe of Levi and the Jesuits and basically all this imperial propaganda that wants you to be afraid and disarm yourselves, right? The reason they're trying so hard, even though there's a red team, majority in Congress and President Trump in the White House, they're still trying, right? Because it's a very effective thing. The people out on the streets, people throughout my family, they actually, they think they're doing it all to protect people. But you know what? Those firearms exist for me to protect my family, and you will never, ever, ever take away that natural right, because you literally have no power. Even if you struck down the Second Amendment, basically you bought 10, 20 more million immigrant votes by giving them, $3,000 a month in welfare, even if you struck it all down and you tried to take them by force, you'd only trigger your own demise that much faster, because you can't take away the guns from Americans. It's just never going to happen. and it's a natural right. It's not given to us by the state, it is given to us by God. In other words, we give it to ourselves. It is a natural, inborn aspect that we have the right to defend ourselves by any means possible, to protect ourselves and our loved ones. And that's an absolute. I don't want to hear about, oh, what kind of weapon you need? I'll determine what I need to protect my family. You can fuck off if you say otherwise. God damn. People out there wearing army jackets, just like commie veterans, like saying like that they would run away, right? If they were a teacher in a school. The guy, you know, go watch High Impact Flicks. He had some good, good interviews over there with some of the protesters. And this guy in an army jacket says he's a veteran. Basically, he's like, if I was a teacher, I would run away. I would get out of the window. I would not subject myself to that. I was like, dude, what sort of, I thought, what is the army these days if this guy's a veteran? But anyway, it's like, you know, I'm not all gung-ho on the military. We should respect our veterans, but any veteran that said he would run away from gunfire when children are in harm is really a total cuck. And that's the thing, is this is really just a divide between the cucks and the radical commie feminists and basically the rest of America that just still has their balls intact and knows what's what. It's common sense, ladies and gentlemen. We might think it's dead, but that's only if you watch TV all day, because the people still got it, man. The people still got it. They'll be fine. Out here in rural America, not here in Sacramento, but, you know, Placerville's more rural. And, you know, it's... people, they're still smart, and it's only this communist program that's insane and dumb and will lead nowhere but total destruction. And, you know, not to leave it on a negative note, but that's what's up, because if we willingly enslave ourselves, if we willingly give up our rights, that will be the destruction of everything that we hold dear, right? We've seen it throughout history thousands of times, literally. So I'm not going to fall for it. I hope you don't either. Much love and respect to all of you, even those of you who radically disagree with me and think I'm a total nutcase. God bless you, and may the force be with us all. Cheers.